Connecticut, Delaware, Oregon, all lifting their school mask mandates suddenly. Lots of political fingers pointing as to why the Dems would do that. Now, Illinois is hinting at a decision to ease statewide mask requirements. President Biden is not budging on federal mandates, though. And now a top House Democrat, Sean Patrick Maloney, with a warning. Erasing mask mandates in blue states is what we need desperately to win in November.
I often say to people, we always need patriots everywhere in the world, and nothing is demonstrating that more than what we are seeing today as we watch the absolute collapse of the COVID narrative, the collapse of the mandates, the destruction of this moment and this group of quote-unquote experts who had only themselves in mind over the last 2 years, the assumption of their own power and the expansiveness of their own authority and administrative state. The corruption has been exposed, and ladies and gentlemen, the reckoning is here. They wanted the Great Reset. What they're getting is the Great Awakening. What you see now on your screen is places where the mask mandates are lifted. Blue states across the board lifting their mandates. There are still places where mask mandates are in effect. Those places are like where segregation would be in effect if you were looking at a map in the 1950s and 60s. They are so out of lockstep. They are so out of the scientific realm of what is plausible and certainly what is good health policy. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, you have a moment here where even Joe Biden's own party is turning on him and backstabbing him. And all you need do to see what's about to happen to the Democratic Party in November, nearly 8 months from now, just a few months away, all you have to do is look north, directly across the border, and you can see what happens when a nation collapses in on itself and says, enough with the dictatorship. Enough with you. Perhaps a man with daddy issues, perhaps a man who has dictator in his blood, a guy we refer to as Castro Jr., not having a great time up in the great white north, or depending on which race Justin Trudeau decides to be today, we can call it, maybe the Great White North isn't the right way to call it Canada, but that is what we will say. It is collapsing. The tyranny of the Canadian state is falling to pieces. Clip 1.
There's been a lot of discussion lately about whether it's time for us in Saskatchewan to look at ending all of the remaining COVID measures and restrictions that we have in place. Well, I think it is time. I'm concerned that COVID being the constant topic of conversation and dictating our daily lives will have a negative long-term impact on each of us in this province.
We are not Canadian geographic or political experts, so we are very excited to tell you that that is Scott Moe. He announced that he is easing all of the restrictions on Tuesday. The mask mandates will end on February 28th. Clip 2.
It's time for each of us as individuals now to make a conscious effort to treat everyone in our daily lives that we encounter equally. It's also time for the proof of vaccination mandate to end. So effective at midnight this Sunday, February the 13th, all provincial proof of vaccination requirements will end. In Saskatchewan businesses, in venues, and provincially regulated workplaces, this means that the proof of vaccination or the negative test option that we provided will no longer be a provincial requirement. Starting on Valentine's Day, February the 14th, this will be the case. This will leave one remaining COVID measure in place, and that is indoor masking. That measure remains in effect until the end of February.
So, the end of vaccine passports on Monday in Saskatchewan. Businesses and workplaces and other public venues will no longer be mandated by province to require proof of vaccination or negative tests. So here's what you're having in Canada. You're having now a two-tiered system It's much like in America. And the problem with the administrative medical establishment in America is that Florida wasn't supposed to happen. There wasn't supposed to be a Florida. There wasn't supposed to be a free state. There wasn't supposed to be a big state that was saying, no, screw off. We'll remain open. We'll keep our beaches open, our hotels, our theme parks, our restaurants, and people will just live normally. And we're just going to deal with it. And by the way, we have 23 million people, which is the population of Florida and quickly growing. And everyone's going to be fine. In fact, depending on the month, we may have the lowest COVID death rate in the country. We'll certainly have the highest rate of happiness and people who care about their lives and who wish to remain happy, and they'll wish to remain in Florida. And it broke the back of the narrative. You see, once you have a couple of states that say, screw this, we're going back to normal, you can't contain that. You can't keep power. It's going to slip through your fingers, and that's what's happening inside of Canada. It's a wonderful thing to see, and it's not just Saskatchewan. Alberta, last night, is now moving to end the vaccine passport system entirely and to eliminate their restrictions. This, according to The Star in Canada, Alberta's vaccine passport program will come to an end by midnight on Tuesday, Premier Jason Kenney has announced. The passport system, dubbed the Restrictions Exemption Program, God, straight out of George Orwell, is the first time the province's current public health restrictions will go into a phased approach laid out by Kenney at a press conference on Tuesday. Now it's time to begin to learn to live with COVID, said Kenney. These restrictions had led to terrible divisions. We cannot remain at a heightened state of emergency forever. We have to begin to heal. Kennedy said that he will be lifting the restrictions also for children. Let's go ahead and play some of these clips of Premier Jason Kenney saying this in Alberta. Clip 3, let's go.
Today, the COVID Cabinet Committee has approved a number of measures that constitute a careful and prudent plan to remove Alberta's public health restrictions and move on from a widespread pandemic response to get our lives back to normal.
So also Kenney said, and this is, of course, the most important thing, the reason why we are protesting, the reason why we are fighting is for our children, for their future. We do not want them to grow up inside of a biomedical security state where your rights have tie-in to an app that the government controls, as Robert F. Kennedy says. When you let the government control an app that controls your rights, they are no longer rights, they are privileges, and they can be flipped on and they can be flipped off. You do not want that world. Trust me. Have you seen the people who are flipping the switches? Dr. Fauci, so short he couldn't even reach a light switch. Probably plenty of kids in Canada taller than Dr. Fauci. Clip 4, Kennedy says, lifting restrictions on children.
First starts with children and youth. Step 1 will remove almost all restrictions affecting children, including removing the mask mandate for all K-12 students effective this weekend. Outside of the school setting, kids 12 and under will now be exempt from the general mask mandate that will continue to apply in indoor settings for approximately 3 weeks to come. As I have long said, kids have been subjected to a heavy and I think unfair burden throughout the pandemic. And it is given the very low threat that COVID-19 poses to the health of children.
Hell yes. It's time to let the kids be kids. Why is this so difficult to say? Why is this so difficult? Why? What type of sickness is inside of the skulls of these people? Exactly who hit them? Who hurt them? Stop hurting the children, you monsters. The first province to remove nearly all restrictions on children, including kindergarten through grade 12, mask mandate, by the coming weekend will be Alberta. Good for you. Children who are 12 and under won't have to abide by the general mask mandate in Alberta. The general mandate still applies to the rest of the population and will be phased out. There'll be some capacity limits and so on, but ladies and gentlemen, here's your issue if you're the tyrant. If you're the tyrant, this is the first domino to fall. If you want to raise your kids free, and everyone does, don't believe it, every single person on this planet wants their children to be happy and free and breathe free and live free, well, then you're going to go to Alberta. See, that's what happened. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason we're late today to the show is that I'm moving my parents down from Florida, to Florida from Illinois. They're moving from a tyranny state to a free state. That's called federalism. That's the design of this whole system, you see. Free people can go about and move and vote with their feet and their cash, and the money from the taxes that would go to Quebec will now go to Alberta. And places in Alberta will see massive growth. Florida will see massive growth. +2 today with my mother and father. And it's wonderful to see that people can just say, screw you. And guess what? In these systems, especially in representative systems, when Florida gains 2 or 3 more million people, that means less electoral votes for the blue states. That means less electoral votes for Illinois and for New York. Guess who loses? That's who loses. It takes away power. Now Florida has more of a say in who becomes president of the United States, and they have less. It's why they want to count illegal immigrants, by the way, in the census. Little red pill there, little black pill there, but that's precisely why. If you want to know why things are happening on our border the way they are, it's that the blue states are bleeding people. They're bleeding population. And they're all coming to free states because nobody wants to live under tyranny. And if you have the choice, you leave. That's why America exists. America has always existed as the place that you come to get away from tyranny, whether it's in Germany or Italy or England. Every single person who stepped foot on this continent over the last 250 glorious years were escaping tyranny. We're escaping the yoke and the chains of old systems and broken systems, and they come here to move. And now in Canada, people are going to say, hey, what the hell? I'm going to send my kids to Alberta. We're going to go move to Alberta, honey. Hey, Mary, let's go to Alberta now, eh? Grab the poutine and the hockey pucks and the goose. I don't know. Do people in Canada own geese? I'm not sure. I don't know. But it would be nice to find out as soon as you drop your vaccine mandate for travel. I'll come on up there and hang out with you Canadians. I hear you have great beer. So there are still a few limits in Alberta, but it sounds like the people of Alberta are still pissed at those limits, and they're going to be all wound down. Kenny says he hopes to see Alberta reach this stage by March 1, where people will be able to have general mask-free mandate, get rid of the work-from-home orders, and get rid of all capacity limits, essentially back to normal. The final stage would see remaining restrictions lifted, and Kennedy cautioned that if the healthcare system feels too much pressure from COVID, the province could pause lifting restrictions, blah, blah, blah. We are well positioned to live with the virus. That's right, because that's been the goal from the beginning. The goal was never to have unlimited emergency powers unless you are an evil dictator, which Castro Jr. is proving to be an evil dictator. And we'll get to him in one moment. What's causing these sudden changes in the provinces across Canada is pretty obvious. And we actually have a clip that demonstrates exactly why people are wanting their freedom back. Clip 5, let's go.
I'd like to address some of the considerations that informed our decision today. First,
we are just so excited for Canada. We're so thrilled for our brethren in the North. I can't tell you what a joy it brings to me to open my phone every single day, every single morning, and catch up on the news from Canada. We're so inspired by you. We're inspired by the movement that you have created. We're inspired by real working class people standing up. They say they're for the workers of the world uniting. They're liars. They're lazy. They live inside of their parents' basement with Cheeto dust across their chests. They've never done a day of labor in their life. They spend their days on Twitter bitching and complaining. These people are not your friends. We are the working class. We are the backbone of society, and we are standing up to tyranny. And I'm so proud of my Canadian brothers and sisters in the freedom movement. It is just a wonderful, wonderful thing to see every single day. You can see on your screens right now the gas cans. This is the best. This is the best. They banned the gas cans. We went live with a reporter from Rebel News, and she walked us through the honking. Truckistan. She walked us through a couple days ago and showed us that the police, the Gestapo in Canada, have now confiscated gas cans, made it illegal to walk down the street with a gas can so that they can try and freeze out the truckers living in their cars with their children. What you're seeing on your screen right now is all of the kids carrying gas cans, all of the mothers and fathers and patriots carrying gas cans to the protest. Arrest us all. You can't arrest us all, so try it. Try it. Man, and then they set the gas cans up and they essentially encircled Parliament. It was such an act of beauty, peaceful defiance. This is the kind of stuff that breaks the backs of dictators. This is Gandhi-style stuff. This is Gandhi-style imagery. You can see the gas cans lined up there along the street. Gandhi-style imagery where you just look like a tyrannical dictator when you come at people's ability to fuel their vehicles. In what universe? You take away people's right to gas and want to talk about free speech, take away someone's right to honk. That's exactly what's happening right now. They've taken away the right to honk. So a judge has issued an order saying that you can't, I know this is insane, but it's true, saying you can't honk anymore in Canada. That's right. You can't honk anymore inside of a specific area in Ottawa, and you are not allowed to blare your horn. He offered an injunction. He didn't side with the tyrants. He just offered an injunction to all of the honking. So what are truckers doing instead? Our colleague at Newsmax, Greg Kelly, has the scoop on a report last night. He spoke with two truckers, a father and a son, and asked them exactly what are you doing in order to make yourself be heard now that the fascistic powers in Canada have banned the honking. Well, they had a perfect response. Clip 14.
What's up with the horns at this point, please?
Well, we're not allowed to blow our horns, I think, for 10 days. They got an injunction from a judge, I guess. So we have these. Hang on, I'll show you. We honk these. A whole bunch of us got these. We do these downtown now.
So no one's blowing the horn? I mean, what would happen if you blew the horn right now?
You mean like this?
They're still honking. They're still honking. They got the squeaky toys. They have a happy esprit de corps, and that's why we will win. I tell you what, I'm so encouraged at this entire movie. So we will win because we're happier. We'll win because we have joy in our hearts. We'll win because we have something to fight for other than just raw, unadulterated, naked power. We have families to fight for. We have a God. We have religion. We have a culture and a society that we're proud of. Unlike our elites who are often childless, sad, barren, godless, atheistic, miserable losers. It is so sweet to hear. It is so beautiful to see clips like that. Father and son fighting together. There is so much passion. There's so much joy. And we are truly excited to announce that we are winning, right? The Canadian truckers have taken upon their backs the cause of freedom around the world. And now they are winning even in the halls of their vaulted government, where in Canada, I mean, you don't really have a conservative party, right? You have like two liberal parties, where one is far more extreme and liberal, far leftist liberal, and then the conservatives are just kind of like weak, like really weak sauce, like Mitt Romney style, like corporatists. Not anymore. This is enlivening them. It is rock-ribbed. It is beautiful, and it is something that they needed to hear, because the left, because they are unemployed and because they don't have jobs and because they have nothing better to do than to assume power and to push the Overton window in their direction, well, they're out in the streets every damn time they get a chance because they really have nothing to do. This is the first working-class uprising in my lifetime. The first time that the workers of the world have united in my lifetime. Where is the left, by the way? Where are the communists? They're nowhere to be found. But now you can see with your own two eyes exactly how powerful the working class are in Canada and what they want. Freedom. And it's causing people to get some spines in that nation.